The open road, for many it's a symbol of freedom, a ribbon of asphalt stretching towards the horizon, promising new destinations and adventures. But for the men and women who call these highways their office, the long-haul truckers, the road can be a lonely and unsettling place, especially when the sun goes down. Out there, in the vast, inky blackness between the welcoming glow of truck stops, strange things can happen, things that defy explanation, things that curdle the blood and haunt the memory long after the miles have been driven. These are the stories whispered over crackling CB radios and shared in hushed tones at greasy spoon diners. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on the dark side of the asphalt. We're delving into the unsettling, the unexplainable, and the downright terrifying. These are not your average campfire tales. These are the stories of those who have stared into the abyss from the cab of an 18-wheeler. So buckle up, check your mirrors, and pray you're not alone on the road tonight. These are the 5 creepiest trucking horror stories ever told. Story 1. The Headless, Skinless Corpse in Montana. Our first story takes us to the desolate, wide-open spaces of Montana. A trucker running behind schedule was pushing through the night to make his next delivery. The landscape was a pitch-black canvas, the only light coming from his headlights cutting a path through the darkness. It was in this profound isolation that he saw something in the middle of the road. At first he thought it was a large animal, a deer perhaps, but as he drew closer, the form resolved into something utterly horrifying. It was a body, but not just any body. The trucker described it as a headless skin. Sight caused him to slam on his brakes, the tires screaming in protest. He sat there for a moment, his heart hammering against his ribs, trying to process the grotesque scene. Was it real? A hallucination brought on by fatigue? Or something far more sinister? He grabbed his flashlight, his hand trembling, and stepped out of the cab. The beam cut through the darkness, landing on the mangled form. It was real. A wave of nausea and terror washed over him. He scrambled back into his truck, his mind reeling. Who or what could have done such a thing? And where were they now? He didn't wait to find out. He threw the truck in gear and sped away, the gruesome image seared into his memory. To this day, the trucker doesn't know what he saw on that lonely Montana highway. A victim of a horrific accident? Or something else entirely? The mystery remains one of the most chilling trucking horror stories ever shared. Story 2. The Woman in the Blue Dress. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. The tale of the vanishing hitchhiker is a classic urban legend, but it takes on a particularly chilling resonance in the world of trucking. Countless drivers have reported encounters with ghostly figures, thumbing for a ride on desolate stretches of road, only for them to disappear without a trace. One of the most persistent variations of this story is that of the woman in the blue dress. The details change with each telling, but the core of the story remains the same. A trucker driving through a storm sees a lone woman on the side of the road, soaked to the bone, wearing a simple blue dress. Feeling sorry for her, the trucker pulls over and offers her a ride. She quietly gets in, her presence strangely cold. She gives him an address, a local residence, and they drive in silence. The only sound, the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers. When they arrive at the destination, the trucker turns to tell her they've arrived, but she's gone. The passenger door is still locked from the inside. There's no sign of her. Confused and a little spooked, the trucker approaches the house. An elderly man answers the door. The trucker explains what happened, describing the young woman in the blue dress. The man's face grows pale. He explains that the woman the trucker is describing is his daughter. She was killed in a car accident on that very stretch of road, years ago while wearing her favorite blue dress. Every year, on the anniversary of her death, she tries to find her way home. The trucker is just one of many who have given a ride to the ghostly passenger. This phantom hitchhiker story serves as a haunting reminder that some spirits, it seems, are forever lost on the lonely highways. Story 3. The Ambush, a real-life horror story. Not all trucking horror stories involve the supernatural. Some of the most terrifying encounters are with the living. The isolation and perceived wealth of carrying valuable cargo can make truckers a target for those with malicious intent. Our next story is a chilling example of a very real danger that stalks the highways. A veteran trucker was driving through a remote area late one night when he saw something that made his blood run cold. Two figures were lying motionless in the middle of his lane. His first instinct was to stop and help. Had there been an accident? Were they injured? But as he got closer, a warning from an old timer echoed in his mind. If you ever see someone just lying in the road, don't stop. It's a trap. The trucker hesitated, his hand on the gear shift. The figures didn't move a muscle. It was too perfect, too staged. His gut screamed at him that something was wrong. He made a split-second decision. He swerved into the other lane, his heart pounding, and kept on driving. As he passed, he glanced in his mirror and saw the two figures get up. And from the ditch on the side of the road, several other figures emerged from the darkness. They had been waiting for him to get out of his truck. They would have robbed him or worse. This encounter is a stark reminder that the monsters on the road aren't always ghosts or goblins. Sometimes they're all too human. It's a kind of psychological horror that truckers have to be prepared for. A constant vigilance against the dark side of human nature. Story 4. The Shadow People and the Sudden Shutdown. The phenomenon of shadow people is a recurring theme in paranormal accounts, and truckers are no strangers to these unsettling apparitions. These dark humanoid figures are often seen out of the corner of the eye, fleeting and indistinct, but sometimes they make their presence known in the most terrifying ways. A trucker was driving through the desert southwest, a vast and empty landscape under a blanket of stars. Suddenly, his engine coughed, sputtered, and died. All the electronics in his cab went dark. The radio, the lights, his phone, everything was dead. He was plunged into an unnerving silence and darkness, miles from the nearest town. He tried to restart the truck, but nothing happened. It was as if all the life had been drained from the machine. That's when he saw them. At the edge of his vision, he could see dark shapes moving in the desert. They were tall and thin, like elongated shadows, but they moved with a purpose that made his skin crawl. He was frozen in his seat, a primal fear gripping him. He could feel their presence, a malevolent energy pressing in on him from all sides. He closed his eyes, praying for it to be a dream, a nightmare brought on by exhaustion. When he opened them again, the sun was rising, casting a warm glow over the desert. And just as suddenly as it had died, his truck roared back to life. The lights flickered on, the radio crackled. The shadow people were gone. Was it a waking nightmare? Or did he have a close encounter with something from another dimension? For that trucker, the memory of being powerless and surrounded by those silent, shadowy figures is a horror story he will never forget. Story 5, The Knock on the Door. For a trucker, their cab is their home on the road, a small sanctuary of safety and solitude. But what happens when that sanctuary is breached? Our final story is a simple one, but its power lies in its ability to tap into our deepest fears of vulnerability. Imagine this. You're a trucker, parked for the night at a dimly lit rest stop. You're sound asleep in your bunk when you're jolted awake by a knock on your door. You're groggy, disoriented. You call out, "Who is it?" No answer. You peer through the curtains, but you can't see anyone. You brush it off, thinking it was just the wind or your imagination. You lie back down, and just as you're drifting off, it comes again, louder this time, more insistent. Your heart starts to race. You're wide awake now. You check your locks. They're secure. You look out the window again, straining to see into the darkness. Nothing. The knocking continues, sometimes on the driver's side, sometimes on the passenger's. It's a relentless, unnerving rhythm that frays your nerves. Who is out there? What do they want? The minutes stretch into an eternity. You're a prisoner in your own cab, too afraid to open the door, too afraid to know what's on the other side. This story, shared in various forms by countless truckers, preys on the fear of the unknown. It's a reminder that even in a locked truck, in a seemingly safe place, the darkness can hold terrifying possibilities. The open road will forever hold its secrets. For every mile of highway, there's a story waiting to be told. Some are tales of adventure and camaraderie, but others, like the ones you've heard tonight, are whispers of the darkness that lies just beyond the reach of our headlights. These trucking horror stories serve as a chilling reminder that, for those who make their living on the asphalt ribbon, the line between the ordinary and the terrifying can be very thin indeed. The next time you see a lone truck rolling through the night, remember the stories we've shared, and hope that the driver's only companion is the hum of the engine and the promise of the dawn. Thanks for listening, and drive safe.